You've been watching decentralized finance for a while now. Seen some people make a fortune, others lose everything. You want to get involved now, but the complexity is insane. The risk, unbearable. Let's face it, you have no time to specialize in decentralized apps, and no money to lose either. Well, there is an easy way to earn returns from DeFi. A solution with no trading involved, no hassle. A place where you're always in control. Just deposit funds and watch your savings grow. We're talking about an app. We're talking about the Yield app. DeFi banking in your pocket.
Hello. Welcome everybody to a Yield app AMA. It's been a while, so we're excited to be here, and we're super excited to be here because this is probably maybe the biggest AMA we've done since our launch in February last year. We are talking all about the V2, that's version 2, if you're not aware, Yield app platform launch, which is happening next week on Tuesday, the 18th of January. We are joined by our illustrious CEO, Tim Frost. Hi, Tim. How are you doing?
Hey, Rebecca.
I'm
doing fantastic. It's great to be here, and it's long overdue. And Justin and Adrien.
Absolutely. And Justin Wright, our COO and CFO, so important. He needs 2 titles and very missed on our AMAs. Welcome back, Sir Justin. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you, and a pleasure to be here. Nice to be missed.
Absolutely. I'm sure I know 1 or 2 viewers that are going to be thrilled that you're here. And Adrien Geneste, our CMO. How are you doing, Adrien?
All good. Pleased to be here finally. We've been waiting for that one for quite a long time.
We have. This is a really exciting time for everyone here at Yield App, I can tell you for sure, guys. And, this AMA is something that we've been wanting to do for a while. So we're all just thrilled to be here. So, Tim, why don't you kick us off? I mean, yeah, V2 is launching. You must be thrilled.
Okay, I actually think thrilled is probably a little understatement right now. It's been it's been a great year. I mean, 2021 was a great and very active year, and so much has been built. And from the 10 months that we've launched, I mean, we've grown from no users to over 70,000 and over 500 million AUM at a point. And the user base, the assets under management, that continues to grow, and we're so thrilled to finally deliver what we think is the best product in the market for anyone that wants to be able to grow their digital asset wealth. And so it's been a long time coming. It was a complete rebuild from the ground up, and I think that's one of the advantages that we had of getting so much data and user feedback over the first 10 months to build what we think is a great foundation of what we think is a very powerful product that's going to offer essentially more to the users, obviously, besides the best rates in the market, obviously now the market leading platform as well.
Yeah, it's very exciting times. Justin, I'm going to come to you because we haven't heard from you for a while. So what have you been busy doing in the background while our developers have been bringing V2 to bear?
Well, thanks, Rebecca. There's never any shortage of things to do, but I guess keeping it in focus on V2. I guess a lot of my focus has been, and Tim touched on it, is around data. So data integrity, data logic, working very closely with our compliance teams, the portfolio team, the tech team as well, in terms of how those databases are built out. The V2 platform, from a user perspective, is very much the coalface. So you have your product, you have your interaction there, but of course everything we do and those kind of key core foundations, we have this capital preservation, the safety, and how we scale this across market, is really driven from that data and how those products work. So yeah, very much a focus across different departments, and a big focus around this risk modeling and safety and capital preservation more than anything else.
Okay, well, perhaps we'll come back for a bit more detail on that later on. I'm sure people would love to get into that a bit more. But Adrien, I'm going to come to you because we had a period of testing, obviously, before we got here. So that was also something that was very much looked forward to. And then we opened that up to a select group of members, and we had a couple of weeks of feedback during that testing phase. So can you give us a little bit of a rundown on what happened, what we learned, what we've integrated from that time?
Sure. So yeah, actually we started with a very few users selected actually randomly from our tier 5 members. So it started with about 20 users, I think, testing the platform, speaking directly with our IT team, actually direct feedback on a daily basis, 24/7. We've got really, really good conversations with the users. It was one of the first occasions where the IT team on our side actually had the chance to talk directly to the end users. And I think that it has been very valuable for the users and for us as well. And all I can say really is that I already knew our community is literally one of the best one out there. Like, I think nobody has any doubts anymore about that. And still they managed to surprise me and the whole team one more time by showing how dedicated, patient, and full of good intentions they are during this testing phase. We've received one more time tons of very useful feedback. Some of it is already implemented for launch. And it just has showed like how right we are to actually work so close from all our users since the beginning, and we will just continue that same way in the future.
Yeah, it's a really wonderful thing, the crypto community at large, isn't it? To have everybody so closely involved in a product launch and testing a product launch. I think it's something quite unique to the digital asset landscape. And I know that we've had so many passionate community members that have fed really strongly into the process. I mean, is there anything that came out during testing, particularly that was then integrated into the platform? I mean, Tim, perhaps you might have some insight on that if Adrien doesn't.
I can't think of anything in particular. I mean, because I would say it's dozens of things that have came back with the testing. Instead of having hundreds of users and having everyone's their unique perspective and journey. And overall, we just helped. It actually helped us to kind of simplify the product. People, we got a good understanding of how they want to use the product and make sure it's a kind of a natural flow, and how they want to be able to get access to the information, understand what they're earning, and understand what the platform overall offers.
And Adrien, is there anything that you saw particularly?
No, and I think that's the beauty of it, is that we really had very different feedback from the users. Nobody got stuck on any particular topic. We did actually the job quite well prior to the product being tested. So it was minor issues, some of them very difficult to spot. We couldn't have spot them without this testing with our users. So nothing special, but overall it has been very, very useful for us to have a proper launch.
And there weren't any giant bugs that caused any kind of mad scrambling in the developer room that you can reveal to the world?
Nothing we cannot solve.
Of course, absolutely. I know our developers, and I know that to be very, very true. So what key changes are coming on with V2? I mean, we've been talking about this for a while. What's going to be launching on Tuesday in terms of functionality?
So what you will see first, of course, is a full new product. In terms of design, it's really way fresher. It looks better. There are many things on the dashboard that were not present previously. You have all information you need as soon as you log in. So the first thing is really the aesthetic of the product itself. It has been a big, big job. Thanks to Goya, our lead designer, by the way, for that. I know that this job has been appreciated by the whole community. I've got really good feedback on that. Most changes, though, are not visible. It's all about backhand and how solid the product was built. This version 2 will allow us for big changes in the upcoming months, in the upcoming year. We will be able to implement new features in a way easier way. So most of the things are not visible. That said, there are still a few key points we really wanted to work for that version 2. And the first of them is, of course, enhanced security features. We've been asked for that over the past few months. It's the legit question that was raised several times. Guys, we're missing some security features. Please do something. Well, it's here. So you will see as soon as we launch that we'll have a new security page actually available through your account settings. And it will allow you to reset passwords directly, which was a bit trickier during V1. You will be able to change your email address as well, set up two-factor authentication in a very easy way. So that's the first thing, security. That was the top priority. Then, of course, something that was asked a lot as well by our users is the in-app swaps. So a little time after V2 is launched, we will allow in-app swaps for our users who are doing KYC level 2. They will be able to swap any of their existing assets in the app for another asset also available on the platform by simply actually going to the Convert tab in the left-hand menu. Everybody will discover that in a few days. And we'll just have a little limit, daily limit of $1,000 and a weekly limit of $5,000 at first for the launch. We will maybe see how it works, see what kind of feedback we have on that. That might change, but that's the way it will be launched in a few days. Then, of course, we have more assets coming in. At launch, we are welcoming DAI, so that's good news. And that's not the only one. In the upcoming weeks, we should have new stablecoins available as well for investment in the app. We will let you all know about that. Blockchains as well, BSC. We've been talking about it quite a lot in the past few months. There are some issues on the Binance Smart Chains in the past few weeks. So we've been waiting for their developers to actually fix that. It's done now, and it should be coming very shortly after we launch V2. So that's another good news. I think it will make the life of our users easier as well, more time and cheaper. That's very important. And in the next coming weeks as well, I know everybody will ask about that. We should have the referral program coming in. We will let you know how it works. We'll get into details when the time comes, but that's a lot of news and a lot of new features that will be available with this V2 launch.
Cheaper is good because Ethereum is quite expensive these days. So just to say, guys, please do keep your questions coming in. I can see that we've got a few questions coming in via the stream, so that's awesome. And we're going to get to those in the live question section. But please do just drop them in. If you're on YouTube, drop them into the comments. If you're on Facebook, drop them into the comments, and we can pick them up when we come to the live question section. We want to hear all of your questions. So, Tim, V2 has also seen us restructure the tier rewards system. So can you talk a little bit about that and kind of enhanced functionality for YLD in V2?
Yeah, absolutely. So, getting the data back and all the analytics, we've been able to kind of really understand our users, at a much better level. So, we have essentially went from 5 tiers down to 4, and we now have bronze, silver, gold, and diamond tier. So if you have a 20,000 YLD today, you are going to be a diamond tier member in the new structure. So we haven't really changed the levels too much, but we've kind of condensed it and simplified things a lot. So overall, we've really want to reward, especially our diamond tier users, the ones that are able to, I guess, support us with the YLD token. We're offering you the highest rates on the platform and the base assets. So with the launch of V2 in stable coins, Bitcoin and Ether, we have the highest or higher base asset returns, or at 13% on stable coins and 7% on the base asset in Bitcoin and Ether. So something that we really want to reward kind of our top tier users and still offer a very high return for even the bronze members that have joined us that are here today and that have been with us through this journey. So stake, you're going to see like a lot of new changes. There was one state of YLD in V1, which was just YLD in your wallet. there's actually 3 states of WildD in the 2.0. So on the migration, everyone's WildD will be automatically staked. And depending on what tier you're in, you'll earn up to 6% APY on WildD. And if you lock your WildD for 12 months, it's a base rate of 12%. Well, I think, I guess we were going to plan on kind of announcing this anyways, but WildD, that's going to be locked. If you lock your WildD from the launch of V2 through the end of February, we're going to offer you a 20% APY on that WildD. So, something that, again, we're want to give back to our such a loyal community that we have, especially the ones that will lock up some WildD, and we want you to be with us for many years to come. And so we've gotten a lot of feedback before kind of making all these decisions. And one other aspect I think probably to touch on is your tier structure is a combination between the amount of WildD you have staked and locked. So if you lock 5,000 WildD and you're staking 15,000 WildD, you would have a combination of 20,000 WildD in being that diamond tier class. Okay. So
I think to demonstrate that, I'll probably just share my screen and show the tier rewards so everyone can take a look at it. But just to backtrack there, Tim, you did just say that there's going to be a promotion where people will be able to lock their WildD for 12 months to get 20% APY on their WildD. And that is an increase from the normal 12% that would be available under that, right?
Yes, that's correct. It's a kind of our launch bonus, and really particular for all the loyal WildD holders out there that have been with us for so long, and we really wanted to give something back to you. So yes, we're launching with what will be the highest rate you'll ever see on WildD.
Okay, great. So you heard it here first. If you lock your WildD on the platform in the new version 2 of Yield App between the 18th of January when we launch and the 1st of March, then you can earn 20% APY on that WildD for 1 year. So that's a pretty tasty offer. After that, it goes down to our standard rate of 12%. So just to kind of demonstrate our new rates, I'm going to share my screen just here and show the tier reward structure. This is also available on our blog. So anybody that is interested can head over to our blog and take a look over it at their own pace. But just to give a quick kind of overview of what we're talking about just now. So here is our blog here. Guys, can you see my screen okay? Is that all right?
Yes.
Okay, good. So you can see here our new tier reward structure, as Tim just explained. So we've got our stable returns here. These are our new tiers here: bronze, silver, gold, and diamond. And these tiers are dependent on how much WildD you have on platform with us. And in order to qualify or to move into each tier, you'll need to stake. And again, stake your WildD. Again, you can go to our blog to find out how to do that. You can see our ETH returns here. And again, you'll see that our base return scales with our membership level, as well as the WildD token bonus. And then here is what we're talking about in terms of lock. So, I apologize. This is if in fact a user elects to be paid all returns in WildD, you'll get an extra 2%. Again, for all of the T's and C's on that, please do head to our blog. So we have our Bitcoin returns here as well. So again, you can see the scaling base returns for the different tiers, the token tier bonus, and then the amount if you elect to be paid all in WildD. Here is our WildD on WildD staking and locked rates. Now, locked is what we were just talking about in terms of the promotion. So normally, if you lock your WildD on platform with us for 12 months, you will get 12% on all WildD that is locked. But our promotion, our launch promotion, means that you can secure 20% APY on your WildD for a year if you do lock it within that promotional period. So again, we'll have more information coming out on that in our launch blog on Tuesday, but that is a bit of a heads up. So that's what the tier rewards looks like. Okay, I hope that's made more sense and not less sense for everybody involved. So now what are we going to be doing from here? Justin, You've been too quiet. We miss your dulcet tones. What are we doing from here post V2? What's going to happen?
I'll touch on something Adrien said. The V2 platform, is built to do what it says, and the same with V1, which was, have you got a platform you can come and basically interact with in a safe manner and earn your passive income on those assets. So whilst the core purpose of the platform hasn't changed, we've got a lot of added features and functionality. Of course, for us, this platform is about how do we scale and grow from here. And that covers a whole lot of different topics there. So one thing everyone will be aware of course, is the regulatory landscape and how quickly that's evolving. And that covers many different areas, whether that's licensing and regulation of VASPs or DASPs, as they're collectively known now, whether that's at a country level from a financial type regulator, whether it's a global body such as FATF and the introduction of things like the travel rule, and then overall, the institutionalization of digital assets across the world. So you have each of these different areas, each of which have to be considered as we grow the business out, and in terms of who that customer base is and how we grow that and how we move everyone together. Because ultimately, for us, this is about how do we scale this business. And the more that we can grow, the more customer acquisition we have, the more assets that we manage, it feeds back into continued iteration and improvements of that platform. So of course, capital preservation is always first. How do we do that safely? But ultimately, as a function of scale, opens up different conversations for us in terms of the partnerships we have with different protocols. I think we'll see some stuff around that in the coming months in terms of very specific types of partnerships and how that feeds back into what we do. The types of customers that we work with more at the institutional level and how that accelerates our business. And there's a lot of work going on already, and we'll continue through the year in terms of, how do we bring this back together in a way that we build those fiduciary shields around the business. So again, I refer to more traditional institutional type customers. So if you think of your insurance funds and your pension funds, and we know that they're coming to the market, and how do we build something that is robust, works within the frameworks that exist out there and allows us to grow as that continues to evolve. I mean, part of the work we do, we joined Global Digital Finance, which is the global advocacy group for digital assets that works with regulators all around the world and different bodies. We're an advisory council member there, so we're doing a lot of close work in different regions and with different parties to have a voice in how the industry shapes out. So there's a huge amount of work on that side. I think some people know we took on some key hires in the year. So we had a chief investment officer join us who has a fantastic pedigree. So again, a huge amount of work around that in terms of how do we build out that piece. And really when we set out to do this, there was always this ambition to drive this convergence between digital assets and more traditional finance. And I think that's something we're really starting to achieve and see. And I think, one helps the other as we take that forward. And of course, with the platform, we now have this foundation where we can relatively quickly add products, add features, and work with, what it is that the customers actually want at the end of the day. So this is a never-ending ongoing piece. But it's an exciting thing, and I think we're well positioned at the start of the year to really take that forward and accelerate that. So very excited on that front.
Well, in fact, while I have you talking on the subject, I can see quite a few questions coming in about kind of fiat on ramps, and capability around Euro Swift and that kind of thing. Can you talk any more about whether we'll be able to bring on that kind of capability?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, it's something that we've been working on continuously through last year. We have our whole team of people around this, not just the fiat ramps, but also the card programs we've talked about previously. And I think, there's a couple of things. There's always an expectation that these things can be done quicker than they can. And I think also when you're an ambitious company, you set yourself very aggressive targets. Well, of course, as I've already touched on, if you look at what's happening from the regulatory side of the business, not just with our company, but of course globally and what's happening across the space, these things, have a natural set of processes that have to go through, but inevitably they take time. So again, we have a whole team of people around that. Tim can touch on it in more detail, but we have the on-ramper widget today, which was a stepping stone to where we want to be. We are in the closing stages with a number of different parties and our dev teams on this infrastructure side to bring these fiat rails to the platform. And I think probably Tim, maybe it's something you can share on that side, really.
Yeah, absolutely. It is quite a long process, as Justin has touched on, especially with the ever changing kind of landscape and with regulators. And so we are in the final steps of getting those fiat rails essentially approved and ready for integration. So it's in the development kind of pipeline as well. We have the APIs where we're starting that initial kind of scope on that. It's just really at this point it's a bandwidth issue. So it's coming. Everything is in motion. It's just it's a resource and personnel kind of bandwidth issue.
Okay. Well, in fact, Tim, while we've got you, is there anything else before we start jumping into our questions that you want to highlight that's coming up either in coming weeks or months or further into 2022?
Yeah, absolutely. Our roadmaps always was maintained fairly consistent. Obviously, it continues to evolve as opportunities and just be able to get as much feedback from the user base as we've gotten. So, we're here next week with the launch of V2. The mobile apps have been in development for months, and they are kind of on that final stages before testing. So we're getting close on that. As we kind of mentioned, the fiat rails, it's a big project that we've been working on since I would say about April, May, when those things really have been put in full motion. And there's key things that we're building out this year, and I think things that really kind of separate us from a lot of the industry are our relationship manager program. Many of you, I probably listened to this call, you've had contact with our relationship managers, whether it's Jörg, Peter, Sebastian, Christian, and we're bringing on more and more professionals as we speak. And so we want you, even though we're digital, we want to have a very personal touch, and we want a kind of a personal touch of at this institution. So we're going to be digital, we're going to be efficient, but so any users that have over $100,000 invest with us, we essentially will have a relationship manager dedicated for you. So someone that you can be able to reach out to. In a lot of circumstances, we want to be able to speak your native language, or at least find a common language that we can communicate, and be available around the clock if you have questions, concerns, and just overall, you want someone at the at the Yield app that you can reach out to and just know that your money's in safe custodian hands.
But don't ask where you can get a baby lion, because I heard about a couple of private members' relationship programs where actually people will ask things like, where can I buy a baby lion? I'm assuming that that's not something our relationship managers can source.
It's not approved at this point.
But anything to do with Yield app, our relationship managers definitely can help you guys out with. So yeah, that's a new feature and a very exciting feature for our members, as Tim was saying. So Adrien, before we jump to live questions, or in fact, we've got so many questions. We've got questions that were asked beforehand, and then we've got live questions. So before we go there, is there anything coming up in 2022 that you're excited for, you want to talk about, you want to hint at?
I will not take the risky road of mentioning any specific projects, but there are indeed tons of things we need to do, we want to do, and will do. And as I said, it starts with the referral program, which will be, I believe, a fantastic vector for growth in the next few months internationally. And one more time, thanks to our community. Because I know they've been waiting for it for so long. They are still bringing in users without it, so I can only imagine what it will be with it. And then another thing, of course, we're waiting with impatience is the mobile apps. It will be a game changer. If we achieved what we achieved so far in a year with simply a web app, a simple web platform, then just imagine what we can achieve with mobile apps, considering that 60 to 70% of fintech users in the world are doing so on their mobile phones. It's just incredible. The way to go to market with mobile apps are fantastic. It's easy to go catch people. So, I mean, the growth for 2022, what I expect is what we got in 2021, but X10. I know it's a dangerous talk. I know it's recorded, but I say it. It's fine. If we manage to get the right products out there, I'm very, very positive on the outcomes for 2022.
Well, on the right products, we've got a few comments about Yield App polo shirts, Tim. Everyone's admiring yours, so perhaps that might be a product that we can get out into the market at some point.
Well, I think we're due for another shipment actually, and maybe we'll get even tall sizes as well.
Yeah. Does yours come up to? I don't know if probably not everybody knows, but Tim's a very tall man. He's about 6'7". Is yours not quite fitting properly?
I'm not going to stand up.
He's
Okay.
6'9".
6'9". Okay, I stand corrected. So yeah, Yield App polo shirts potentially in the future. And so Adrien did just touch on the mobile app. So that's a question that I have seen coming in quite a lot. It's in development. We know how important it is. We're working on it, and we will keep you fully updated with anything mobile app. So yeah. Thanks for questions on that, and we will just keep you updated. So I'm going to move now on to some questions that we got ahead of time via Twitter and Telegram. So I'll start first with Telegram. So a couple of these questions are around the kind of the BTC launch, because of course, one thing that we haven't mentioned is that we have in fact also opened the Bitcoin portfolio for new deposits. So that was announced yesterday. So in fact, we will be taking deposits into the Bitcoin portfolio, easy for me to say, from yesterday until the 18th. So we do have a few questions around that. So I'll just take that. So we've got Michael B. And he asks, can we switch freely between earning all in YLD or earning in BTC plus YLD during the 41-day lockup? Do we have any information on that?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and answer that one. So yes, the V2 kind of allows you that kind of freedom across your different investments. So yes, technically you can be able to swap or switch daily or frequently between earning in BTC and in YLD if that's what you choose.
Okay, perfect. We have a question about the referral program, but we've already covered that is coming, and Adrien is particularly excited about it. We have a question from Rob Crypto UK. If you elect to earn the total interest in YLD, this would be up to 12% diamond tier. Will it still be paid daily? So I think effectively the question is about whether or not interest will still be paid daily in V2. Justin?
Sorry there, Rebecca. I wasn't
That's all right.
concentrating for a moment.
That's okay.
The question was if you elect. Sorry.
Okay.
You can answer. I was actually reading a question on the screen.
Okay, all right. You are ready for that question, Justin. So
yeah, essentially that is the current logic built in. So if you do elected to earn an all YLD, yes, it is available for you.
Okay, fantastic. Now, Egon, also on Telegram, easy for me to say, asks, for those of us still moving up the tiers as we earn, does our BTC interest rate adjust accordingly during the lockup?
Yeah, yes, it will. So whether you're moving up or down tiers, your rates will adjust daily. Okay.
Fantastic. But onto our Twitter question. So Sero93 asks, do we have any plans to lower withdrawal limits for assets or eliminate them in V2? Withdrawal limits. Who wants to take that one?
Just because we got these set last night. Actually, the current limits and fees that you have today, they will be rolled out with V2. and so there'll be no changes. However, in short, yes, we absolutely have ambitions to kind of reduce fees. Part of the reasons why we want to be implementing so many different chains, and so whether you're holding stable coins or assets, I mean, you should be able to move your assets essentially for nearly no cost. And so that's one of our goals of what we want to do is if you want to withdraw, if it's Tether, USDC, long term, that is the vision to really lower costs. However, the Ethereum networks, the fees of operating on it are quite expensive, and that's really at the top of our to-do list as a firm.
Justin, as you were reading a question, did you want to proffer an answer to that question? Am I putting you on the spot?
No, you are, because they've all moved. They're coming through so rapidly. So I'm happy to answer any other question you have. It's disappeared now.
I know.
It's a lot of questions.
There are a lot of questions coming through. So let me just move on to Marcinek112 on Twitter, and he asks: do we plan to offer kind of increased earnings for different types of cryptocurrencies? That's a good question. So, I mean, we do have differentiation at the moment between Bitcoin and other assets. Do we plan to do more of that, where we might differentiate for different types of currencies?
I'll go for that one then. Ultimately, yes. Okay, so I think, if you look at, I guess if you follow it back since the start in terms of some of the increases we've had in the earnings rates and the reductions on the way through, I mean, ultimately it's about passing on what is that maximum achievable rate of return without compromising how we generate those returns. And it's really a balance between the two. There's a lot of technical capital market terms for this, but in the simplest sense, we're passing on whatever that maximum alpha generation that we can create, but in a very safe manner. So very much market neutral portfolio positions. So one thing we've touched on in these kind of quarterly reports, and one of the big things we're doing across that whole portfolio team, is we have very much a DeFi focus across a large part of the portfolio. And on the other side, we work with a number of other regulated digital asset funds. We have derivative strategies, but of course, all of these are put together in such a way that we can balance that out and generate excess alpha, again, using the market term, but basically creating extra returns there, which may not necessarily be available through other platforms. So depending on where your focus is and how that capital is allocated, again, it's about finding that sweet spot in terms of that safety and the diversification. So you're effectively not taking extra risk or excessive risk, but able to generate, superior returns. And it's easy to say it, and it's much harder to do it. And it requires a lot of professionals, a lot of technology, a lot of data, and all the stuff that we really do that is behind the scenes and below the line that the users don't get to see. I think that's evident in the rates that we publish today and as we go forward. So coming back to the start of that question, it's a function of a few things. Ultimately, Bitcoin, Ether, the stable coins, these are very large markets. So there's a lot of these tokens in existence. They're very, very large markets. You have derivative markets. They're very, of course, across the DeFi ecosystem, certainly with Tether, it's like a reserve currency. And ultimately, it becomes a function of, supply and demand, and what are those opportunities to generate the returns on those tokens. So, of course, what you'll see more going forward is the top 10, top 20 tokens. Which ones of those have a large enough attributable market where you can put those assets to work and generate the returns and pass them back on. I mean, a lot of this is obviously led or underpinned by lending. So certainly you'll see that with some of these other assets across pure lending platforms. But again, as we go forward, we'll take the same stance. Can we add more utility? Can we add more tokens? And can we, outperform the market and pass that back to the customers? And that's really, one of our core objectives. So I hope that answers the question. It's a yes, basically.
And I think it probably goes to answer a few other questions we've had about portfolio as well. So Adilus0 also asks if we have any plans to disclose exactly how we invest our money. And so to answer that question, Adilus, is that we do a lot of we do reporting every quarter, and you will find that on our blog, in which we disclose a lot about how we invest our money within our portfolios or invest your money within our portfolios. So anybody that has any questions can head to those quarterly reports, and we will be publishing the Q4 quarterly report at the end of January, so keep your eyes peeled for that. So we have a couple of product questions which I will direct at Adrien and Tim, I think. So Tadeus 88677486, Tadeus is obviously a very popular username on Twitter, asks, when do we plan to roll out BSC? So Adrien, perhaps you can give us a bit more insight in that. And also he does ask about security on the platform, and I know that that's a topic that perhaps all three of you could cover, but let's talk about BSC first and then security.
You
Adrien.
know,
Yes.
I don't mind talking on this. I've had a lot of in-depth conversations recently on this. So BSC in particular, you're finding a lot of developers that are having challenges be able to run a full node. And so that we have very strict requirements before adding any change. I mean, we typically will run multiple copies of any full node, and there's a few kind of fundamental problems with BSC, and you know, we're working with many teams, and we think we've found a few solutions that we're essentially testing. So we have some nodes kind of running currently, and we're kind of in that testing phase. So again, we don't have a timeline when it's coming, but you know, I think that we do have a solution be able to securely run a full node in quite a complex network.
Okay. And in terms of security, now this is obviously something that's really front of mind for most people, especially people that haven't used cryptocurrency or digital assets much. So what can we say about the security that we have on our platform? Adrien, I'll start with you, and then Justin, I know this is something that you speak about a lot as well.
Well, I think security has always been, and even more now, the main focus of the IT team. And that's why maybe over time, we've been sometimes a bit longer than the competitors doing what we're doing, because we are proactive in terms of security to a level which is not matched by many in the industry, I would say. It takes time. Security is time. It's a pain, but in the end, it saves your money, you know. So that is, and it will stay the main focus. And if it takes longer for us to develop a few things because of security, then it will still be the case, because we will never stop to put it first. That's all I can say.
Mm-hmm. Justin, anything to add?
Yeah, I think it's such a broad question, because security covers so many different aspects of this entire industry, you know, including user behavior, user education. So, you know, going from right out here at a distance, you know, as this, I guess, asset class or the whole digital wealth ecosystem has developed, you know, again, one of the things we set out from the beginning was education as part of those tools of security. And Rebecca, you've been very you know, hands-on in this in terms of some of the work that comes through from everything from wallets and keys and, you know, hard wallets and everything a user can do within their control to manage their own safety just at that initial point of contact. So, and that will continue. The educational piece is so important, and giving people confidence to learn and how to interact. Of course, when it then comes to more of the technology side, I mean, V2 is an entire new technical infrastructure. So, you know, this is a wallet system, it's a portfolio management system. There are so many different elements to it, and each one of those requires its own security modules, notwithstanding some of the IP and some of the actual, you know, hardware security modules that we've actually had built ourselves with specialists. I mean, there's just different areas. But I guess if you had to touch on it in different ways, you know, if we take the portfolio side, you know, you'll read and you'll see about all these issues and exploits and hacks, and some of these after the event look so simple, and whether people have interacted at the front end of a website and then gone through a wallet access there to basically take funds away from some of these platforms and protocols. And everything we've done from the very beginning goes through very, very rigorous processes. So again, looking from the outside in, we've developed and built proprietary risk models, you know, and these were very much analog. They're now coded. They'll continue to evolve. We have a V2 of a risk model, which is not something our customers will see, but it's a set of processes and a way that we can evaluate and assess the DeFi universe and all the intelligence that goes into that. And that's a starting point at one end. So that's a security or safety feature that's before there's, again, any interaction or exchange of assets on the platform or interactions with different types of protocols. We interact with smart contracts directly. We don't go through any third-party wallet systems. Everything's hard-coded, everything's tested. And again, that's just one part of it. If I then take, I talked about working with, other funds, other areas in terms of how we do allocations from our balance sheet. We use very prestigious companies such as Kroll. We do ODD reports, operational due diligence reports, and managers. External managers we work with have regulated administrators. They work with top 4 auditors. These reports take 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks of very detailed reports. And we go through a lot of set of processes there before we decide that we want to work with another manager. So there's some examples of these, I guess, longer tentacles in terms of how we do things, all of which sits outside of what people would traditionally in this sector say, what about the security? And that's when it comes onto the platform itself. And to really touch on what Adrien said, I would hasten to say that actually, 80% of the delays have been driven by ensuring that, what we have here today from a ground up build, everything from a cross-chain wallet capability, the enhancement of the portfolio management system, our databases I touched on at the beginning. It's about maintaining that integrity and that safety. So it's, again, it's easy to say everything takes a long time, but of course, when you actually put the component parts together, there's a lot of different people having to come together and tie these things together and make sure they work. So it is our number one focus.
We take security very, very seriously, almost as seriously as polo shirts, if not quite as seriously. So moving on to the live questions that have come in. We've had so many, and we've got our very, very helpful green room survivors picking out a few ones for us. So I'm going to just go through now. Thank you so much to Grigory and Marie, who are our head of influencers and social media respectively, who are helping us out in the background there. So Sean O'Mealy, apologies if I can't pronounce your name. It's something I'm not very good at. He asked whether we'll be able to convert YLD to USD, etc. in the new V2. I think I could probably answer that. We are doing full cycle swaps, right, guys?
Yeah, and actually, just to touch on that, we actually just did, officially yesterday, we raised our swap limit, so it's actually $5,000 a day, whether no matter what assets you're swapping, and I think that's just the beginning. I mean, our goal is to really grow that out significantly. So we want to be one place where you can hold your crypto assets, and if you want to be able to change those or swap those, long term, that's our goal is to offer you very, very high limits.
And that's $5,000 in USD value per day if you are KYC level 2, i.e. know your customer level 2 verified, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay, great. Just to clarify again, if anybody has any questions about that, then either put them in the comment section, head over to our Telegram group. We've got a few blogs. Hopefully we should be able to answer questions around that as well. But if there's anything that we haven't thought of, we want to hear from you. So Dennis Misgiaglu, sorry Dennis, in V2, is it possible to change the option of being paid all rewards in YLD back to BTC to YLD while the BTC portfolio is locked? I think this is kind of common questions coming up around like the flexibility of moving, within the locked BTC portfolio. Is there anything that we can say about that?
Yeah, I'd just like to jump in and say something about that. I think, I think it's important people understand some of the complexities of using BT as an asset to create passive income. So, I mean, anyone familiar with DeFi is going to understand that you have various different forms of wrap BTC. There's a number of different processes that those assets have to go through to be able to actually utilize and generate the returns, which is something I touched on earlier. So I think, in that V1 platform, having this 3-month tenure on the BTC portfolio allowed us to really get in there and experiment and really understand the nuance of how this works and where those opportunities are, like we have done with everything else. one of the most important things that's going to be happening from the end of February is we will go to monthly liquidity or monthly redemption. So this longer term effective lockup will be removed. It doesn't answer the question you asked. Tim will answer that one in a moment, but I think it's a really important step and something to note that, and as we go forward, we talk about what happens through the year. Now, ultimately, are we able to quickly move to a point where people can deposit daily with less restrictions? The monthly redemptions is a big leap forward. It's very much in line with how the asset class works on a much larger scale. If you look at option rollovers, external funds, monthly subscriptions, and what can we do beyond that? I mean, ultimately, again, our goal has always been to make this as intuitive and simple to use and really reap the benefits of being on a platform like this. Again, it didn't answer the question. I've given Tim enough time to think about the answer. I think it's important that that's such a massive thing, because it the underlying complexities to be able to do that and challenges are huge, basically, with the types of APYs or rates that we can generate.
Thank you for the context. Tim, could you give us the detail?
Yeah, so I mean, currently that capability is activated. If you want to change between earning and all WildD and Bitcoin, that will be available. However, that is subject to change, and I kind of want to point these things out on kind of all fronts. I mean, ultimately we are a company, and we're here to offer you the best products we can, but I can just almost guarantee you that you're not going to be able to gamify us. If you do get us for a few days, we'll do our best to keep it that. But we want to be able to offer all the clients, fantastic products.
Please note that was not a formal challenge.
Adrien, you look like you were on a phone call to the 1980s. There is everything all right?
That's the audio. That's not mine. Everything is all right.
Okay, so we have a pretty good question actually here from @me, also a great name that I can pronounce, so I'm grateful for that. Is there any usage planned for the WildD token in addition to tier definition? Do we have any further plans for WildD, Tim?
Any more plans from what we've done today for the release? Is that great? Okay.
I assume the question is about the functionality of WildD, I assume.
Yeah, so I mean, this is, I guess, version 2.1 of WildD. I mean, absolutely, we have plans, especially for the higher tier users with us to be able to offer them more. We'll be rolling those out, so we're not going to kind of release any details today, but we kind of get a long list of items and features that we continue adding for gold and diamond tier users.
Okay. That's nice and clear. So we have a question from Jan Heitman. So in the test environment, there is a feature hinted to lock stable coins for a period of time. Can we comment on this in any more detail? Who wants to take that one?
I can take that. The only lock capability today is on the yield token, and that's really driving, increased engagement with the platform, and ultimately yield is a reward token. So it's about how do we engage with those loyal users on the platform, and how do we bring benefits for them to being there. At the moment, there's no plan to lock any other assets, and I think quite the opposite. We just talked about the Bitcoin portfolio, and ultimately it's about how do we keep delivering that daily liquidity, which is something so unusual for this type of not just the platform, but in terms of how this sector operates. When you balance these things out, the simplicity of being able to come on here, have that instant access or daily liquidity access is such a huge feature, not just for the users we already have, but it's something that's commented on a lot by some of the more corporate customers and institutional customers, treasury customers that are coming through, because it just brings a lot of flexibility to how they manage those treasury books. I think the answer is ultimately no, because it is more a function of giving you that access. So.
Okay. Would we potentially consider, a kind of a locking period for other assets to increase APY? Is that something that might ever be in the pipeline ever?
I think nothing's off the table, Rebecca. But again, it's got to be in part demand led, and it's got to make sense, commercially as a product as well. Where we, as I've touched on earlier and a few times, and the way that we're growing, and as we move, as we start to embrace also this institutional market, you're talking depositors that are, 50 million, 100 million as a baseline. People with a much longer term horizon in terms of that risk reward trade-off and how they operate, because it's a different set of needs. So of course, as these things come up and as that demand grows, well, one of the great things is now we have V2, a secure platform, after all these delays. We have that agility to be able to react to this and to develop and add product very quickly, because we now have effectively this core system, and we can add those modules in as we go forward. So it's going to be a lot easier to do that, but it will always be very much demand-led if it makes sense from a market perspective.
Okay. We have a question from Captain Pickle, which might be my new favorite username. And perhaps, Adrien, this might be for you. Any plans to improve the calculator to show returns on holding multi-assets? So the current calculator allows a combination of YLD plus one other asset. So do we have any plans for improving that calculator view?
Yeah, I would say it's not even a plan anymore. It's done, and it will come out shortly. So yes, we will have a much better calculator fitting the possibilities of version 2. It's ready. It's about to come out in a few days.
Okay, so Captain Pickle, there's your answer. Exciting, a nice clear one. So we've had a question about kind of how we might grow our user base over the next year. So Neil McLean on YouTube. So this is a marketing question. So again, Adrien, this may well be your wheelhouse. What are our plans, or Tim? I mean, whoever. What are our plans for growing our user base next year or this year now?
Well, finance is a very sensitive topic in people's life. There are a few very sensitive topics, and finance is one of them. So to do marketing in the world of finance is quite complicated. It's based mostly on trust, meaning you cannot cheat people. If your product is not good, the word of mouth will do the job, and it will be known by everybody that the product is not good. You have no trust, you don't grow your user base. So the most important thing at first is to make sure all our current users are satisfied with what we provide. Once we reach a level of satisfaction, which is close to 100%, that's the goal in today's world with social medias, information goes very fast, then you can actually set up a referral program. It's very interesting in finance to have a referral program because you let people go to talk with their friends and family for you. So they already have the level of trust that we don't have. They go to speak to their father, their mother, their sister, and it's family. So these people they are talking to, they know that the information they are receiving is legit, it's good information, it's proper information, it's coming from somebody they trust. So I really believe the referral program, as soon as it's out, will be very, very good, because we will be able to talk to new users through our current users. So that's the main thing in the upcoming months. Then, of course, it doesn't mean we will just sit and let our users do the job. Of course not. As soon as we have the mobile app, we will use many different strategies that are used widely in the mobile space. Yes?
I was going to say, thank you, Adrien. I was going to say, I mean, yes, obviously there's the very traditional routes to market, but I think one thing that's very important here is the demographic as well. And I think, sorry to jump in, because Adrien's done some great work on this with his teams and understanding who your customers are. And of course, as we've expanded and grown our corporate area, we've touched on the RM programs, we've touched on the institutional programs that we're running. You know, it's understanding where those customers are and what's important to them as well. So, you know, it's been very interesting, some of the feedback we have in terms of the type of customer we have and what it is they're looking for. But ultimately, there's so many different channels to market. So in terms of growing the customer base, it's not a one element answer, because it's what type of customers are you growing and how do you get there. So it's a much bigger thing with different channels and, you know, our business development teams. And again, Tim and a lot of the team work, you know, very tirelessly on these strategic partnerships. It might be with a protocol, it could be with, you know, other types of industry participants. So it's really across the whole piece there. Sorry, Adrien, I didn't mean to jump over you on that, but it's a number of different areas.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's marketing is a big part of it, but as you said, there are many other ones. It goes through partnerships, through business development, through everything. So yeah, I mean, for us, we will be using all the traditional channels that work. We will be analyzing our data way better than we could do over the last year. That will help as well. It's part of knowing our users, as you said, Justin. And of course, we will do some cool marketing stunts, hopefully, to make our name really well known and remembered out there. But yeah, I mean, very positive for what's to come.
Right.
I've
Watch
just,
out for a flash mob near you, right? Is what we're saying.
I've just on a question, Rebecca, and it does come up quite often actually, which is it's talking about, you know, what are our plans should a customer or a user sadly pass away and they've listed a family member and
Yeah,
how to
I
take
saw that one.
over.
That's an interesting question.
Well,
Yeah.
it does come up quite often. I mean, ultimately, this is much more a function of testate laws in whichever country a user is in. And it's no different to whether you have a high street bank account, ownership of a vehicle, a mortgage, or a house. I mean, ultimately, your succession planning, your wills, and how that's managed and who the executor of that will is something that's managed by the individual. And of course, you know, depending on the different jurisdiction or different country, if documents are presented from a verified executor that support what has happened, then they will be reviewed and they'll be acted upon like you would with any other asset or product, ultimately. But it is something that comes up often, and we understand it.
Yeah, absolutely. I often think about that I must, make sure that I've got all my paperwork in order, because I can't imagine that my sister would, know how to work Binance, although I hope one day she will. So I have a question here actually about functionality of kind of assets and earning, which actually is an interesting one. So this comes from Dina Style. Would it be possible to stake ETH or BTC and receive interest in USD T or X or whatever in a future update? Is that something we've ever thought about? That's quite an interesting question, I think.
It has came up. I mean, overall, I think we've kind of already expanded on what you can earn by earning your returns in YLD. So it's something up for consideration, and that it's a good question that came across multiple times, but there's nothing, no plans on it currently.
Okay. All right. But it's come up. I mean, we have had quite a few people, so I feel like it's worth addressing this, asking about the US and if we do have any plans to expand into the US. Now, of course, the US has been such a big change in terms of regulation over the last year, and it's become increasingly difficult to operate there. So, I mean, Justin, I don't know if you wanted to take this one. What are our plans on the US?
Well, I mean, it's a US specific question. Regulation is one part of it, ultimately. I mean, there's a number of different moving parts. So, one of the more complex things is FACTF. So effectively the tax and IRS rules in terms of what those reporting requirements are. And that's not so much a platform issue, it's more on the individuals. But what you'll find is in a lot of different fintech applications and even traditional banks for term deposit products, there is not a reluctance to take US investors, but you have to be set up to be able to do it. And partly on that regulatory side is having your infrastructure, your offices, your compliance offices, and your licenses in place in the US to be able to operate. Another part of that is your ability to meet those reporting requirements and automatic data exchange requirements from a tax point of view as well. Would we like to be in the US? Do we have visions to be there and have US customers? Absolutely. In terms of how we prioritize that, there are so many things going on in so many different areas of expansion we're doing, and we are looking at how do we go down that pathway. But I think really the honest answer is in the next 12 months it's not going to be something that is likely to happen. And just to put that into perspective, if you want to go through a tier 1 regulatory submission and application process at the moment for VASP licenses ahead of the MICA rules that have come through in Europe in the next couple of years, you're talking 12 to 18 months from start to end, and you're talking hundreds of applications sitting with a regulator at any one time. So it's something you have to do, but again, ultimately we have to manage realistically the expectations of which regions, which markets we can be in, how that plays into, again, our customer base and where the industry is going and how we do that. So I think longer term, absolutely yes. And there may be different, there may be changes in the way that we do that. Maybe it's even a partnership with a US regulated firm. That there's lots of different ways to get there. But ultimately, I think a straight through the door full US license application in the next 6 months is not likely to happen.
Yeah, none of those options are easy. Well, listen, we're up to an hour, so we'll probably wrap it up from here. We've got a couple of really good questions. One is from Kampong Bay Boy Group. Again, thank you for that username. He or she, they ask, what are our AUM goals for the end of 2022? Tim, this is a question for you, I believe.
Absolutely. So we're actually kind of going through our forecast at the moment. But I think we have our rough goal this year is about a 5 to 7x on both user base and assets under management from where we are now. I think that we have so many good products and features, and to continue to kind of expand our efforts. And so, I think considering what we've accomplished in the first 10 months, I'm very optimistic in our capabilities in 2022.
And do we have any, this has come up a couple of times, so Del Perios Cryptos asks, for example, if we have any targets for the number of users in tier 5, which will now become diamond tier. At the moment, I believe, Adrien, you might have to update me, where are we on the number of tier 5 to become diamond tier users? 3,300, something like that?
Yeah, it's about 3,000 users, and I think a good number for us to reach, Tim, correct me if I'm wrong, but would be anywhere between 5,000 and 6,000 tier 5, so diamond users.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a finite supply of YLD, and we'll continue to have to kind of adjust the tiers as we continue to grow. I mean, obviously, we don't really want to cap the number of diamond tier members, which is about 2,350 currently, and kind of growing every day. So, about double from where we're at. We're already going to kind of run into kind of shortages of YLD with kind of the current YLD and into the market. So, and we do see kind of a sweet spot around 5,000 to 7,000 before need to kind of examine if we need to make adjustments to the tier structure.
Okay, great. Well, listen, let's wrap it up here. So perhaps, where do we expect yield at? Where do we want yield at? What do we want to achieve personally? Some goals from each one of you, please, perhaps for the next year. I'll start with you, Adrien.
I need some time to think. You can start with
Just Tim or Justin, do you have a prepared answer?
Not specifically, but I think it's been an incredible journey. I think from when Tim and I first discussed this probably 18 months, 2 years ago, to getting a product to market, the initial product, and launching it. I mean, the journey's been incredible. It's had its ups, it's had its downs. There's been a lot of frustrations out there with the delays. The entire landscape has just shifted and changed so much. And I think probably the thing I'm probably most excited about is, as I said, when we initially had this discussion, there was this vision, which is, these worlds of these traditional capital markets and traditional financial markets, the crypto universe and our digital assets were so far apart in terms of not just culture, but the people that operated within them. And we're already seeing this transition, and there'll always be, people that don't want to see this change and transition, but I think is actually healthy for both sides. And I think, and again, you'll have people that will always be resistant to regulation, but, there's an exciting entire new financial universe here, and it's open to everybody. And I think that's a key thing for me. So seeing a continuation of that this year, the opportunities that it brings to our customers, all customers, and just this education around finance overall. I suspect in the last 18 months, more young people, one way or another, have had a faster, deeper education in finance one way or another than they would have had in the previous 10 years. So I think there's a lot of exciting things going on, and happy to help that along and see it continue.
Tim?
I mean, I think we have a lot of goals as a firm. I think it's more. I'd say stronger efficiency is kind of one thing as a firm you always want to kind of strive for, and just getting to that point. And it's been a very, I would say, exhausting last year, and I think everyone on staff is really taking a burden of this. And this is a marathon, not a sprint. So we're trying to kind of ease our way into that mindset and build a long-term sustainable financial institution that something that that we can look back on and be very proud of being part of it and helping along this journey. So I've been very fortunate. I have such a fantastic team and such talented individuals on all fronts, and we're continuing to just build out this the personnel on staff, and we've been in a very fortunate spot, and still many exciting things to come.
Monsieur Geneste, have you thought of your answer yet?
I think all have been said so well by our CFO, CEO, and our head of communication that nothing needs to be added.
You're a born politician, Adrien, a born politician. Well, I guess that just leaves the big question. #when V3?
Soon.
Isn't it hashtag mobile app, win mobile app?
Which is also coming very soon. I don't think anyone's ever allowed again to use the words very soon in a sentence.
I know, exactly.
In our organisation. I think just joking aside, just on that, I mean, and I touched on it earlier. V2 is that platform. If you look at what's happened in fintech over years, that's our baseline. The ability to grow out that product, of that, enhance it, iterate. It's all there already. So I think I think it's going to be 2.1 and 2.2 and 2.3 in very rapid succession. And that's exciting.
This is the foundation from which so much greatness will be launched. Well, in the meantime, guys, the Bitcoin portfolio is open. So that is open until Tuesday the 18th at 0000 hours. So head over to our blog for full details on how you can get involved there. It will also be open for redemptions between the 15th and the 18th as well. Again, full details to be found on our blog. We also published a full V2 FAQ today. And as ever, we have our dedicated admins waiting to answer all of your questions on Telegram. So we sadly couldn't get to everybody today, but if you do have some burning questions that aren't answered anywhere in those places, then please do head over to our community channels. So thank you for joining us. We love doing these, and we'll be doing another one very, very soon. Please do keep in touch with any kind of comments, feedback, suggestions. We love to hear them. I am Rebecca Jones, Head of Communications at Yield App. We have been joined by our CEO, Tim Frost, our CMO, Adrien Geneste, and our COO, CFO, so important he needs 2 titles, Justin Wright. Thank you all for joining me, and I think we'll see you all next time.
Thanks, Rebecca.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.